Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week. It is the Shankly Sessions. It's Friday night. We have a preview for the Super Sunday game coming up, Liverpool versus Man United, arguably the biggest game in our calendar, based on the rivalry and everything else and stuff like that. But it's a massive game for both teams. And plenty on the line and stuff like that. We are following the League of Ireland tonight at the moment as well, folks. Just to let you know, it's just coming up to the half times there now. Draw to 1, Cork 0, Galway 1, Bows 0, Shelbourne 1, Sligo 1. These are half times. And St. Pat's 1, Shamrock Rovers 0 at Richmond in Inchicore, and not what Steve and Bradley would have been looking for at all. Shamrock Rovers have been pretty poor first half. Pat's full value for their lead have had a number of chances, and a fantastic goal that they scored. Power getting the goal. So Pat's full value again. Shamrock Rovers again tonight, looking a bit sort of making a lot of work of this, really, and stuff like that. And this is a Pat side as well who have kind of been off the boil. And also, just to let you know, in the bottom game, Derry at the moment, half-time, are beating Waterford at Waterford 2-1. So that has an impact on it as well. Now, looking at the way things are going and stuff like that, it could potentially come down to, it's not going to come down to goal difference, because Shamrock Rovers' goal difference is far superior to everyone else's. So we expect Shamrock Rovers to become champions, but a draw tonight, a point tonight is all they need, but they're struggling to get this point. This could be really difficult as well for them, but we will keep you posted on that. Right, we are going to be talking Liverpool tonight. Especially, we had a good chat last night, myself and Darren, on Thursday Tier Talk. If you didn't catch the show, check it out. We had a good conversation about what we believe the issues were and stuff like that, and we'll highlight some of them tonight as well. We will get into Slot's press conference, which was quite interesting, I have to say. It was got a different kind of vibe or a different kind of feel from it, let's say. So let you know, it's just gone half-time as well in that St. Pat's Rovers game, 1-0 St. Pat's. We will be back for the second halves as well, trying to bring you as much of that as we can. See if Rovers get crowned champions tonight, or does the champagne stay on ice for another week? Who knows? Baz in the chat. Evening, bro. What's the crack? All good, pal. If we are a little bit kind of leggy on this at the moment, folks, I don't know whether it's the broadband or StreamYard acting up, because the broadband's working fine, so it must be StreamYard acting up if it is. We are going to talk about both lineups as well, what we believe both lineups are as well. So if you are in the chat, let us know what you think the lineup is going to be, especially if you're a United fan in the chat. Let us know what you think Ruben Amorim is going to pick post-international break. Right, so let's get into the Gaffer's press conference, as we always do. So we'll start off with Slot. He was talking about the injuries, and he said the good news is that Ryan Gravenberch is fit, and also it looks like Ebu is going to be fit as well, but he says both have to come through 2 more training sessions, so we shall see, but I imagine that's okay. The main one is Alison Becker being out, of course, Marmadashvili substituting there. One I'm not too overly worried about, to be honest. I think Marmadashvili, he's a decent goalkeeper and stuff like that and all. And again, as we said last year and in multiple years when Quiveen came in, did an outstanding job as a number 2. So that was the update on the injuries. So we shall see. He said also as well, he's not expecting Alison to be back, not this week or next week. So we'll see what that means. And the original talk was that we may not see him even until the next international break. So we'll see what happened. Slot on what changes, on what needs to change. And he goes, I think what we can say is if we compare it to last season, we don't create as many chances, but the most XG. Chances and shots on target, but we've conceded too many goals. 9 goals and 4 from set pieces, not a reflection of chances we've conceded. Other 5 were fast breaks, 3 from open play, conceding too many crosses. We have to address that and do better. Like Virgil says, I think he means this, that the teams are facing us differently. That is also what I have said, long balls compared to last season. Already 1/3 of the way through compared to last season. After 7 games, we have to find answers. So that's his talk on how we're getting caught with those long balls and stuff like that. Slot on Salah's form. I think it should not matter who we play on Sunday. If you've lost 3 in a row and you wear the LFC shirt, you have to react. The players give it all every game, first to last minute. In 3 games, we had to come back from a goal down, did it twice, but we lost. There should always be a reaction, not only from Mo, but all. Slot on Man United. I look forward even more to Man United. I know how special of a game it is, the most watched all over the world. So special to be a part of it. We have to be at our best. United had a better start than the table is showing. So very interesting game, especially as it's at Anfield. The fans have always been supportive. A team that lost 3 in a row. We need to be ready, but the fans need to, well, help us. So he's calling on the fan base as well. Slot, if you were the team who have created most chances, then you can say that we surprise teams. But it's also clear that we haven't created as many chances as last season. We need to not concede goals. One way to win a game to score 1 or 2. But if the other team scores, we need 2 or 3. Sometimes we get in from a special moment from front 3 or set pieces. Not many special moments, acts of brilliance this season or set piece goals. We are still 1 point behind Arsenal, but it is clear that conceded 4 set-piece goals is too much for a team that wants to compete. I think that's very fair. He has had 5 or 6 weeks of pre-season, which is normal on Isaac, fitness-wise, and this was key, I think, in the press conference. And if you go back and you actually look at the video of the press conference when he's talking about Alexander Isaac, I think he's shooting an arrow across a bow there as well. There's a subliminal message to the player. He has had 5 or 6 weeks of pre-season, which is normal. Fitness-wise, he is close to the level, and we can judge in a fair way from now on. I know how this industry works. If he plays twice and doesn't score, that's not what you want. But he didn't, and I think his pre-season has maybe finished now. He has played a few games, 70, 80 minutes, so let's see where he is. I think that is Slot sending a clear message to Alexander Isaac that it's time to fix up, dude. It's time to show up now. Slot on the 3-game losing run. These players might need me, but I don't think they do to tell them what has happened. We have lost 3 by very close margins, twice in the last minute. 1 was a penalty. We should have overturned it on VAR. We should not depend on the margins. Chelsea away is normal. It is an equal game, part of it, but results don't lie. If you lose 3 in a row, you have to do better. These players don't wake up at night with it, but we have to be aware of it and give a reaction. We have to create habits if we win or lose, but after 3 losses, you hope for a spark or 1 or 2% more from us and our fans on Sunday. I assume everyone, you're going to need a lot more than 1 or 2%. So we've been poor in those 3 games. I assume everyone is talking about the run now. I don't know. It's just the situation as it is. Better to have the next game again rather than talk about it for 2 weeks. What I like about top players, you don't notice anything if they win 3 or lose. They just prepare themselves in the same time, the same way. Outside world is focused on results and us as well. We don't deny them here. We need to do better. 10 games have been equal, and we are trying to work every day to make the gap bigger. Keith in the chat. What's the crack, pal? I'm so glad that tribe of internationals is over with the real football. Yeah, and I don't know how you felt about the international break. It seemed to go on forever, doesn't it? And I don't know what it was. Typical international break. Probably because we're Irish and we're following Ireland as well. It's a bit of a chore, I have to say, to watch it at the moment. It's a tough old watch. But I think as well, maybe it just felt long as well because we're starting to see the dark mornings coming in and the dark nights coming in, and days seem to be endless and stuff like that. But absolutely can't beat it when the football comes back. Let's continue with the presser. Slot on McAllister. I haven't seen his interview, but did he mean the quality of play or amount of minutes? He missed a lot of games. We expected him back for pre-season, which he wasn't, and that led to the fact he couldn't play 3 in a row. So he was in and out, and that is never ideal for a player. Like all the others, he is a player that has experienced so much in his career. He will be back at the level he and I want from now on. So this again is another message. This is Slot sending messages now that there's no excuses now, lads. You should be back at the level that you should be playing at. There's no reason for poor performances. Very subliminal in the way he does this as well, and it's a and I was surprised. Obviously, the journalists obviously have a narrative. There's a narration in there when you're in there in the press conference and stuff like that. But if I had been in there as a journalist, I would have asked the question just to expand on that and expand on the Isaac one as well. You know, would have been interesting. You know, Slot on the next 3 weeks, 7 games in 3 weeks. Interesting one. We need to bring some players towards playing time, but you cannot do none to 3 in a week. So we had a few of them that led to changes in the team. Every team has to face schedules like this, so we have more than 11 players. If we rotate, you have to play more with the same players. Almost impossible to play players in the same position every game. As has happened with some players, you have to find the balance. The ones we have been together for longer. We have Alex and Hugo as nines who both know what to do in our system. I have more than 11 to play games. Choices. Slot on balance and Salah position. He says, both Flo and Dom attacking midfielders, but they expected to defend. In this case, I saw Cucurella's comments about Salah, but I show you 5 or 6 moments where Mo could have made the difference. So that would have been a different conversation. Always the balance between winger and fullback, that is quite. I want ours to attack, as we will have to find the right balance. We can see too many crosses. I'm aware of that, and we have to do better. That is it. That is the presser from Arne Slot. Let us know what you thought about that presser. Let us know what you thought about the comments in the chat. What do we need to do? How do we need to break it down? Kate, if you're in the chat there, give me a starting 11 if you want. Let me know who you're thinking of going with. Just a little update as well for you folks. And this is the narrative that comes out. And we'll talk about this as well before we get into teams and stuff like that. What Liverpool to do is come out and press Man United and squeeze them and give them no time on the ball. I don't want to see this slow build up and going nowhere. We need to win this game. Yeah, there was a discussion about that there's a kind of a lethargic way of playing the ball around at the back and stuff like that, and it takes too long to switch the play and move the play up the wings and all that kind of stuff. And at that stage, teams are too organised and stuff like that. And Ruben will know that there has to be a certain amount of defending that's going to be needed, Absolutely, Keith. But this one here, just an update on fixtures beforehand. So obviously the Sunderland game, the Leeds game, and the Tottenham game have all been moved, obviously because of broadcasting reasons. So take note of that, folks. If you had planned to go to any of those games and you'd book travel arrangements or hotels or whatever that is, take note of that fixture update. This one was an interesting one, this one on Salah and stuff like that. And I heard a lot of people talking about Salah. And I really think to throw shade at this man who's played, we played 7 games now or whatever it is. And, he's trying to fit in now into a different system. He's trying to play a different style. But it's mad the amount of people that just don't know football when they listen to football and when they watch it and stuff like that and all. They're talking about Salah, how he doesn't track back and he doesn't defend and stuff like that. I'm just wondering that any Liverpool fan who thinks this is the narrative and this is what should be happening. I'm not sure whether they watched the interview during the summer with Mo Salah where he was asked about how he was so successful last year in terms of his output and stuff like that. And he clearly said in that interview that clearly these Liverpool fans who think Salah should be tracking back and defending didn't listen to him. He said he spoke with the gaffer, and the gaffer told him that he wanted him to stay high up the pitch and be ready to pounce when the opportunity came for those breakaways and stuff like that, and not to be going back and defending, to conserve his energy and stuff like that and all. And that's how he was so successful and so fit and everything last season. But clearly Liverpool fans who think Mo Salah should be tracking back and defending clearly didn't hear that conversation and clearly didn't understand last season why Mo Salah was so effective last season. So I just thought I'd put that out there. All this other stuff from Sky and all, to me, is all just garbage. If you want to read it and you want to delve down into it, you talk about the comparisons between 24-25 and 25-26. Yes, his numbers are down and stuff like that, but I have no doubt Mo Salah will come back strong. And if there was ever a game for these players to show up and kickstart the season proper and show what they're made of, it's against our fiercest rivals in Man United, absolutely, at Anfield. So I would expect a huge performance and a massive uplift in performance from these players. And we know how Mo Salah loves playing against Man United between assists and goals. So we shall see what happens there. I mean, on paper, if you look at both teams, we're much stronger, much better team than Man United. And in theory, bar these last 3 games and United actually picking up the win against Sunderland and going off into the international break with a lot more positivity, we have been by far the better team over a certain period, just kind of not at the moment. But we shall see what happens there. We will look at the lineup shortly in a minute. As I told you, team news, obviously, Alison Becker, the main one at the moment. Obviously, only obviously nursing the ACL as well. So we don't need to include him really in the combo at this stage. Still half time, folks. So you know the scores in there at the moment. So not looking good for Rovers at the moment. Champagne could remain on ice tonight, and I'm sure Stephen Bradley will be getting fed up if this is the way this is going. Let's get into the teams. And there was a lot of conversation over the international break and stuff like that. You know, where is the fault at the moment? The fault in terms of what's going wrong. Why do we look so disjointed? Why is the ball moving so slow? Why are players looking so ordinary and out of form and all that kind of stuff? And people were talking about maybe we should just pare it back a little bit and go back to what we know. And I spoke to Darren last night, and I said, I wonder is the issue really that we're a 4-3-3 team. It's ingrained in us. These players know that system inside out. Now we're trying to play with a 10 inverts. And I'm wondering, do we need to play with, say, a back five with wing backs, if you like, with 3 central defenders? And is that the key to this? Is the defense being exposed? And then when you play with that 4-2-3-1, the 2 guys that are sitting there that are in that kind of holding position, it's like as if we've given up on playing with a 6, because you've got Gravenberch moving forward all the time and stuff like that. You've got McAllister moving forward all the time. And what happens is, it's not really acting like a pivot. It's acting nearly like 2 8s, the way they move forward. And what happens is then you get this gaping hole in the middle there that teams can monopolize, just drop balls in there and play players in there, and then suddenly they're on the break. And then you get that anxiety kicking in, like what you see with Canate and Virgil trying to, direct players a certain way. We've seen it with the Caicedo when he was trying to get Caicedo to show him the outside, and Caicedo just switched. Virgil was out of the game, and Caicedo bangs one into the top corner. Again, what I would say as well in the fullbacks positions as well, you got Frimpong on one side, you got Kerkez on the other side. I think with Kerkez, I think the issue is, I think maybe he's just trying a little bit too hard to be an even better version of himself, because now he's at Liverpool and a bigger club with a bigger expectation to be even a better version of himself than he was at Bournemouth. Now we did see commentary over the international break from where he was making the point that really the setup at the moment isn't really being set up to his kind of strengths and stuff like that. And we could see that in the case, because most of the season with Kerkez, he's looked pretty ordinary. And we know he's a fantastic player. As I say all the time, really, really good players don't suddenly become shit players overnight. So I think there's kind of an issue there in the way that balance is working and stuff like that. And this is a huge move for us. This is a ripping up of the blueprint. This is us going from 4-3-3 ingrained in us. We've played it so effectively for literally a decade or whatever it is. And now we're going into this 4-2-3-1. So Salah looks a little bit lost at times. Certainly the fullbacks look a bit lost at times. And also the key point as well is we need to stop. Have we not learned anything from that season where we had all those defensive injuries and we started playing midfielders in defense? Now, I know Dominic Szoboszlai is a fantastic player. He could play in, he'd throw a set of gloves on and playing goals for you if you needed him and probably do a good job. But I think we need to be really, really careful what we're doing here, because it's creating an imbalance and a disjointment in the team and the way it operates, because we're now playing players out of position. At one stage, Dominic Szoboszlai is nearly playing in 3 positions. And I think we need to be careful of that. And I think we need to establish very quickly as well, do we maybe need to not abandon what we're doing, but just maybe go back maybe to what worked for us and then see how we can explore different things, and if that means you have to sit down a big signing player, then you sit down a big signing player, or you figure out a way of putting him into a system that's a bit more familiar to us. But I just think at the moment, playing this 4-2-3-1, I just think we look a little bit lost. And I think you can see We're not even creating the opportunities that we need to create. I mean, one thing we hear out there as well, at a minimum, we should be creating the Darwin chances for Alexander Isak. And I think that's a real problem because we're not even doing that. And some of that might be the fact that, Darren mentioned last night, Luis Diaz exiting the building. And I made the point, yeah, but you can't really hang on to a player if he doesn't want to be there. Luis Diaz wanted to leave. His dad spoke about it for a year. There was murmurings about it and stuff like that. And if a player wants to go, a player wants to go. That should not be an excuse for the way we're playing or how we're creating. Cody Gakpo is more than capable. But I think the issue at the moment is, and we're seeing a little bit of signs of it, that the three up front, Cody, Alexander Isak, and Mo Salah, and we're not leaving Ekatike out of the conversation either, because he's kind of been one of the somewhat shining lights so far in the first 7 games or whatever it is, But I think we need to figure this out because you've got 3 pretty big personalities there. You've got Cody Gakpo, who wants to operate and wants to play and wants to be seen, wants to cut in and, score those trademark goals that he scores because he knows he has to perform very well. You've got Alexander Isak, who's trying to figure out how the link-up works between himself, Mo Salah, Cody Gakpo, Florian Wirtz behind him, Dominic Szoboszlai, all these different guys, like an abundance of riches to provide for him. And at times our play has been good where we have moved the ball quickly and created opportunities. And it's just, you can see that the players as a collective are still trying to figure out each other's game and stuff like that and all. You've seen the Wirtz one, the assist for Salah that Salah didn't take and stuff like that. Normally that opportunity is bread and butter for Mo Salah, but I think maybe Mo Salah, the ball came to him and he was maybe in more of a state of shock. I've sometimes mentioned, if you remember, back a few seasons ago, I mentioned that when Thiago Alcantara is on the pitch, his football IQ sometimes is so much higher than the players around him that sometimes he does things that can look nearly insane, nearly make him look nearly like a bad player. And it's just because the other players around him don't read the game that way. How many times have we seen Thiago Alcantara play an absolutely world-class ball and it just rolls out or goes back to the keeper or something like that? And then we're looking going, they just weren't on the same wavelength. And I think that's an issue here at the moment. I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to crowbar in a system, and we're also trying to educate certain players that are obviously institutionalized on 4-3-3 into this new system and how it works, and find that balance in the pivot between the fullbacks. Remember that balance that Robbo and Trent always had. One went, one held. One went, one held. They never both bombed. You know what I mean? And there was always cover there. At the moment, it seems that both boys, if you play Frimpong and you play Kerkez, they both seem to be bombing forward. So you've got so much space. How many times have we been cut open from balls going out onto the wings? We've seen it in the Chelsea games when Gittins and all came on and Garnacho came on. They had the freedom of the city, basically. And we can't afford to do that either, because what happens is then you get Konate getting pulled out of position or Virgil getting pulled out of position, then everything opens up in the middle. And that's where we are exposed, because not only do we have that space in the middle that's been voided from Gravenberch and McAllister, who are pushing forward, it's also being voided by the centre-backs who are being pulled to supply cover for the full-backs. So we're just at, we're at 6s and 8s. We're all over the place and stuff like that, And I think what's happened as well, I think if you look at the way Gravenberch and McAllister play and that double pivot stuff, that pivot, the way they play, like I said, they're playing like 2 8s and they're not playing like a 6 and an 8, or they're not, they're not pivoting the way you would expect and stuff like that. Now, at times when they do it, then it looks really well. And we know what happened. We know what really happened with the Caicedo one. McAllister went to press and they broke the press, and then he was in no man's land, and then the space opened up for Caicedo to just run that distance with the ball unchallenged. So we have to take into account as well that sometimes when we do apply the press, the quality of a player like a Caicedo can play through that press. But it was very simple in the way they played through it. I mean, it was a bog standard, really the way, 1-2 basically, that he got caught out on, and all of a sudden the game just opened up for them. And then you see the central defenders getting exposed. And we've seen it with Kanate. His form has dropped off a cliff. What that is, I'm not too sure. Is it his mind being moved? Is he thinking Real Madrid? Is his mind somewhere else? What is it? We do not know. Just to let you know, folks, we're 55 minutes in here. And it's kind of as you were. Galway 1-0 up against Bows, Drogheda 1-0 up against Cork. Shells 1-1 with Sligo Rovers. Shells to pick up 3 points tonight will be huge as well in their endeavours for the European spot. Pats are still 1-0 up against Shamrock Rovers at Richmond in Chicago, and Derry still 2-1 up against Waterford. And changes there, I will let you know. Back to the preview. So these are with that in mind, these are the teams that I put together. And you will see from this, I've kind of gone, because it's United and because it's a big game and because the likes of Kerkez and Frimpong may not have experienced the intensity and the magnitude of this game, I think maybe this is where we should be playing a Bradley and a Robbo. And I think if you look at Keith's team there as well, I think Keith has gone with Marmadash, Bradley, Konate, Virgil, Robbo, Sabozoi, Maka, Grav, Salah, Isaac, Gakpo. I'm going for Robinson for experience, and it's a big game. There you go. Absolutely echoed my thinking as well. Now, that's not to say that you wouldn't introduce a Kerkez or you wouldn't introduce a Frimpong and have them as options and stuff like that. But I think in a game like this, United trying to go back-to-back as well, and obviously 3 points here would be huge for them in terms of positioning in the table. But I think for us, to go 4 games without a win or to draw here, like this has to be a win, because I'm assuming Arsenal tomorrow evening are going to be Fulham. That's all I can say. What a big chance here for St. Pat's. Just over. Shamrock Rovers still struggling. But this is a massive game for us. We can't let that gap develop too much while continuing to underperform or get poor results, because otherwise you'll find it'll be the flip of last season where Arsenal will just peg away and open up the gap. They have a nice run of games now. We've quite a tough run of games. And I think what we need to do is we need to just roll it back slightly, not totally, but roll it back slightly, get a bit of solidity in there and stuff like that, and just make sure, that we play in a way where we impose ourselves on the game. As Keith said, press up against United, don't give them any time, put them under pressure, and bag a few goals, take a few chances, create a few chances and take a few chances, which is so important. We know the dangers out there on the wings. We know how Ahmad and Dallo can be so dangerous. We know Casemiro and Bruno in the middle there. Bruno's kind of that weird one in this midfield. This midfield of Bruno and Casemiro hasn't really worked. There's a call if you wanted to put Mason Mount in there. You could put Mason Mount in there instead of Cunha. I think you play Cunha because they like that little bit of. But Mason Mount has been playing well for them. Sesko, we know, will keep Konate. He'll have his hands full with that, and Virgil, because we know that Konate, a lot of times when he comes up against a bigger centre forward, a kind of a more an old skill centre forward and stuff like that, he has struggled a little bit in terms of the physicality of it. So he'll need to be on his game. I think with Bradley and Robertson, I think there'll be more of an understanding of when you go and when you sit and when you wait and when you don't, and balance it more so than just gun-ho. I think where I'd like us to be more patient in the way we play, I don't mean that in slow build-up or stuff like that. I mean more patient in no need for an anxiety as the match begins and stuff like that. No need to go helter-skelter, all that kind of stuff. Just go out there, play our game, pass the ball around, open them up. We know how open they can be at times and stuff like that, and just play our game. The quality is there. If you look at both these sides here or there at the moment, we know how good Lenny Yoro has been. He's been a fantastic signing. The Lit's being solid. Shaw is one that could be exposed. Not too sure whether Lissandro Martinez is available yet and whether he'd put him in, but certainly Shaw is one. And this is Shaw now. We need to, this is where Mo Salah needs to do his thing, as they say, up against Luke Shaw. And then Alexander Isak, how he can perform against the Lid is going to be very interesting. So there's lovely little matchups around the place. Gravenberch with Casemiro, you got Bruno Fernandes and McAllister, and There's lots there. But on the wing play as well, Dom as well is going to have to be very careful. Cody and Dom are going to have to work really, really hard. You've got Dallo in there, got Ahmad in there. We know they can swing in balls. We know they can win corners. As the gaffer said in the press conference, we don't want to be giving up too many set pieces. We're giving up too many of them. And when we do give them up, ultimately they're leading to either good chances or goals. Keith, I think their weak point is Shaw. He's lost a yard of pace. Salah needs to show up in this game. Yeah, and evidently he does. And I think on the face of it, I think we're going to see a better outing from Liverpool. Now, again, it'll be interesting to see how he sets us up. Does he roll it back a little bit to what has worked for him? Does he go with what I would say the tried and trusted? Or does he get overpowered by having to go with a Verts, or you know what I mean? I mean, if you're picking players on form, you know what I mean? I mean, Ekitike should start, shouldn't he? But are you going to sit down Alexander Isak? I don't know. Is that a big call for the gaffer? No doubt we're going to see him. Absolutely no doubt about that. But if you look at those two teams and the way they're set up there and all, obviously the keeper as well, Lamans, who's come in, he had a really, really good showing against Sunderland. But again, you hear fans cheering him for doing stuff that would be our expectation at the very basic level. You would expect your goalkeeper at Premier League level to be able to go out and climb a ball and catch a ball and do all those things. I think where you get the narrative from the United fans is they're so used to their keepers fumbling balls and dropping balls and fucking up basically and not being that presence in the box. So when you see a young keeper like that who does it like it's nothing at all, I can see why they get gassed. But I think that could be an area as well. You'll have Lamans out there. He will have never experienced this kind of intensity in a game in terms of the crowd. The cop will be in full voice. I'm sure it'll be intimidating and stuff like that. And I think we just need to get back to playing our game the way we know we can. Great shot there from St. Pat's. Shamrock Rovers keeper claims it. So still, as you are, Galway have gone 2 up against Bohemians. Bohemians won't be too happy about that. Draw this in 1-0 against Cork. Shell still 1-1. Pat still leading 1-0. And Derry still 2-1. That's where we are at the moment. Still no change barred that. So as it stands at the moment, if it ends as it is now, the champagne is staying on ice. Bradley will not be a happy man. Keith, would you be surprised if he plays Hugo instead of Isaac? He's our informed player. It's not that I would be surprised. It's that I think maybe he might want to reserve that to come off the bench. I think his trickery and stuff like that. I think when you look at Hugo Ekitike and stuff like that in terms of his trickery and the way he does stuff and gets around players and stuff like that, it's kind of somewhat a little bit like the way Jota used to be that kind of pest. He's kind of awkward and, he does things in a very unorthodox way. So it's very hard for you to train and prepare against a player like that. And if you can bring him from the bench, it's really, really important as well. He'll definitely start with Isaac, I think. I would be surprised if he didn't. I wouldn't be against it. And I think you should always pick your strongest 11 in terms of informed players and stuff like that. No. There's going to be a big game as well for Dominic Szoboszlai as well. He's going to have to work exceptionally hard. He's going to really have to be that general in midfield as well, take care of stuff. I don't see an issue between the matchup between him and Dallo. I think that should be okay. McAllister as well is going to have to be conscious along with Robbo and Ahmad. We know how tricky Ahmad can be. He can open us up on that side and he can create chances and flash shots as well. And we're going to have to be careful about that because that's kind of been a little bit our Achilles heel, as they say. But no, I wouldn't be surprised at all, The real key for me and the interesting one for me is who he picks in the fullbacks positions. Does he go with the experience of a Robbo and potentially bring a Kerkez on? Does he go with a Frimpong, which I would be a little bit concerned about? Because I think a Frimpong, I think Dallo, as much as United fans go on about him in not always a great way, I think Dallo could take advantage of that Frimpong situation, pushing up very high and stuff like that. But again, you have to find that balance between how you support Salah and you give him the support that he needs. Because a lot of the time we've seen as well, balls into Mo Salah and stuff like that, and people have been highlighting the fact that how many balls he lost and all this kind of stuff and all. We forget if you go and you look at that game, and especially the Chelsea game, a lot of the balls that were flashing into Mo Salah, he was extremely isolated to the point where he barely even had an option to play a pass. So that's how he was getting dispossessed. But that's something to be aware of. But I would imagine these players are going to come back. They've seen now, they've coughed up the top of the league. You know, Arsenal are going to look strong. I would expect Arsenal to go out and beat Fulham. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. And I think what that will do it will add extra pressure, because then going into this game, we could be potentially 4 points behind. Stephen Bradley making changes here. 3 coming off, 3 coming on. He's going to roll the dice on this and try and get this point over the line to seal this league. Let's see what happens here. We'll keep an eye on it. Won't be here probably for the end of it, folks, but we will keep an eye on, no doubt. You don't forget, join us Monday mashup. Myself and Mark will be talking about it. Will Rovers be champions, or will we be going again like last week? Let's see. That would be 2 poor results for Shamrock Rovers. Shells last week at Tala, and then this week 1-0 down at Richmond, if that's how it plays out. But yeah, these are the lineups I went with, and obviously, as I said, the striking one is obviously Florian Wirtz. The other thing that I mentioned to Darren last night, I said, if you're really, hell-bent on putting Florian Wirtz into the side, why don't we go with a 4-4-2 but in a diamond shape? Now, we know it's going to be narrow, and we know the flanks is where we've been a little bit exposed. But I think if you go with Gravenberch at the bottom and you go with Wirtz at the tip, and then you have Dom and McAllister flanking it, I think there's enough energy there and enough dogged embattlement, if you like, to take care of that and stuff like that. So that could be an option. But it could also be a very clever option as well, with 70 minutes gone, to introduce Ekitike and Florian Wirtz into the game and maybe change it up slightly just to mix it up against Man United and confuse things a little bit. That might be the way he might go. But I'm very, very intrigued to see who he picks and how they set up. And I don't want to see Dom in the right back position. I don't want to see crazy kind of stuff where players all over the place are playing out of position and they're getting dragged around and various things, stuff like that. Let's go back to the basics of what we do here. Put the players in their position and let them express themselves and play their game. That's what's most important. In terms of a prediction, folks, I'm going to go for a 3-1 Liverpool win. I don't think it will be easy, and I think it'll be a tight enough game. And I think eventually it will run out 3-1. But I don't think it's going to be comfortable. I'd like to see a performance, and I'd like to see players come up. I know Slot was talking in the press conference about 3%. I think they need to come up 10, 15, 20%. I think they've been way off it. But this is a massive game. This is the game to kickstart their season. This is the game to get things going. Nothing but a win on Sunday. We're at home. The onus is on us to go out, express ourselves, shut them down, as Keith said, apply the press, suffocate them, finish our chances, and be more creative, but also more balanced in the way we do things. Keith, we need to come out and play like we did against Arsenal. If we come out all guns blazing, we should have enough to beat Man United. I'm going for 2 or 3-0 win. Can't afford anything but a win. Yeah, nothing but a win. Nothing but a win. Can't afford to be opening up that Arsenal gap. That could be really, really important. And the thing about it is, if we do go out and we do perform and we do get the win and the 3 points, then that sends a message back to Arsenal. By the way, we're kind of back and we're not going away. We're here in this title race. All this talk and this narrative about over the international break about Arsenal this, Arsenal that, and Arsenal the other, both on TNT and on Sky Sports, and I'm there going. Like one of them that went up the other day is, is Liverpool and Man City the ones who are going to rival Arsenal to the title? And I was there going, what are you talking about? We're the champions. We're the champions in situ at the moment, not Arsenal. Don't get it twisted because Arsenal have gone top of the table in a 12-month period. Remember, we held the top of that table for the guts of 12 months. Let's not forget that. And also, I'd also say as well, Man United haven't won at Anfield since, nearly a decade. So this is really important that we go out there and we do our job. And I think that's really, really important. We don't have to play with an anxiety. The crowd doesn't have to get anxious or anything like that. Just go out there, cheer the boys on, give them the full support, and let Arne Slot do his thing and set the boys up in the right formation, the right structure, the right tactic, with players in the right positions, and get them to go out there and do their thing. These are good players. They're just trying to find a system, and they're trying to find their feet at a new club. I feel like Slot panics, and that's why he puts Szoboszlai at right back. I feel like he doesn't trust Frimpong. It's like Milner at right back all over again. Milner was quite a trusted player. I don't think there was a lack of trust in Milner. I think with Milner at right back, I think there's just an issue there with, with age and stuff like that. And I think we just had to accept that. But Milner played in a number of positions for Liverpool and was fantastic and stuff like that. But I just think if you've bought Frimpong and you want to play him, play him. If you're playing Bradley, play him. But just play players in their positions. And then I'll be happy. And then whatever comes out of it, comes out of it. Then you can't do any more than that. But you can only pick players. Like, if I start saying, Gravenberch wandering around the 10, or I see Isaac dropping deep and stuff like that and not playing in that more forward position, I don't want to see Mo Salah having to track back and stuff like that. I want him to be the outlet. When we pick up the ball, this is how we break. I don't want to see Mo Salah being the guy that's, driving United players down into the corner and stuff like that. That's not what we want. Do you think Isaac will score? I hope he does. I hope he scores. I hope Mo scores. I hope Wirtz, if he comes on, scores. I hope Ekitike scores. I hope Gakpo scores. I hope they all score. Every one of them. I hope Virgil gets a header off a corner. I hope Konate scores off a corner. Bring up that confidence, stuff like that. I'd love to see that whoever scores. Doesn't matter. But I'll take whoever it is. What about a Dominic Szoboszlai free kick? And we need to test that keeper as well. We need to test that new young keeper. I feel Wirtz needs a goal or assist to get his season started. He does. But I think what they need as well is, I think there just needs to be a bit more protection and a bit more attention to detail in terms of what's going on. Just looking at these scoring attempts, folks. Pat's 12, Shamrock Rovers 4. It's just a break and play here at the moment. That's insane for the team who wants a Rovers player down here at the moment being treated. There's Mason Mealy as well, who's heading off the Spurs. He's had a real good season. Yeah, absolutely. I just think with Florian Wirtz, I think, pick the simple option. You don't have to always, and we've seen this season as well with a lot of players trying to tread balls through the eye of a needle. Pick the simple option. You don't always have to try and play that killer TV pass. I often talk about where we should be more caring of possession of the ball and stuff like that, and don't cough it up too easy. How many times have we seen this season stupid passes where players aren't running, players where you would never find them in their positions on that pitch, trying to play passes through a crowded area and all that kind of stuff? Just recycle the ball, open the game up, and simplify the game right down again. And then just play with an impetus and a speed and a control and a confidence that we are Liverpool Football Club and we are currently the champions defending our title. And that's what we want to see. Right, until next time, folks, have a safe weekend. Enjoy the match. We will have a reaction to the match, no doubt. And I am back on Monday as well. And next week, Tuesday, we have Pro Wrestling Weekly as well. We'll have the whole crew on as well. Keep back in again. I think he's more effective in the number 10 role than on the wing. He can open up and find that little pocket to make some space for other players. Absolutely. The biggest problem in the number 10 role is you're playing with a team at the moment that's never played with a 10 and they're trying to get used to it. And that's really the problem. So, yeah. So until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. Up the Reds. Let's go. Let's get 3 points on the board here. The season starts Sunday afternoon. Nothing more, nothing less than a win is acceptable in this game. Cheers, folks.